Beloved seekers, students of the light, how did Joel S. Goldsmith used to address you? He would look out, as I do now, and see not a crowd of individuals with problems, but a single, unified presence of the divine. He would see the Christ within you, the Buddha consciousness, the unspeakable, or glorious I am, that is your only true identity. We are not here today to learn something new. We are not here to add another technique to your spiritual collection. We are here to engage in a radical unlearning. We are here to strip away the layers of misconception, of humanhood, of the persistent belief that you are a seeker, separate from the sought. I speak to you of a meditation that is not a meditation. It is a thunderous, silent recognition. It is the I am that shatters the illusion of the I think, I feel, I need. This is not a practice of the mind, but a surrender into the one mind. It is the portal through which the personal sense of you dissolves, and the infinite, with all its power, its harmony, and its perfect peace, is revealed as your own being. This is the meditation that does not ask you to change your life, but reveals that you are life itself. It changes everything because it changes the one who perceives the everything. And I promise you, before we are through, you will understand why the greatest discovery a human can make is that there is no such thing as a human separate from God. But how can this silent, causeless reality be consciously known? How do we move from the theoretical to the actual, lived experience of the I am? If your soul has been stirred, if a deep remembrance within you has been awakened, then I invite you to journey with us further. Engage with this revelation. Like this video, subscribe to this channel so you do not miss a single step inward, and in the comments below, simply type the number 7, the symbol of spiritual completion and the divine rest that is found not at the end of the journey, but at its sacred beginning. Of course, here is the expansion of your first keynote, continuing directly from the flow of the introduction and maintaining the Goldsmith style. But at its sacred beginning, we begin then with what may seem a startling, even confrontational, proposition: the seeker, the very one who has embarked upon this spiritual path, the one who prays and meditates and strives for a better life, is itself the central illusion. The entire spiritual pursuit, as it is commonly understood, is built upon a fundamental misconception. It is a quest initiated by a sense of lack, by a belief in a self that is separate from God, from good, from its own source. This, that feels it is not spiritual enough, not peaceful enough, not whole enough, is the very barrier it is attempting to overcome. It is the problem masquerading as the solution. This personal sense of self, this old man of theology, is a constellation of memories, reactions, conditioned thoughts, and a deeply ingrained narrative of lack and limitation. I think, I want, I fear, I need, and it is this I that busies itself with spiritual practices, seeking to acquire what it believes it does not possess: peace, power, grace. But you cannot acquire what you already are. The seeker can never find God, because the very activity of seeking affirms the belief in the separation. It is like an actor on a stage, playing the part of a starving man, who then begins to search the theater for real food, all while ignoring the fact that he is, in truth, a well-fed man merely playing a role. The moment you accept the premise of the seeker, you have accepted the premise of separation. You have placed God at a distance, as an object to be attained, a goal to be reached, a power to be won over. This is the great delusion. The truth that we must come to see, not intellectually, but through a profound inner revelation, is that the seeker and the sought are one. The very awareness within you that is capable of longing for God, that is aware of its own lack, is itself the stirring of God. The pull you feel is not you reaching for God, but God, as your own being, stirring within the consciousness that you are. The hunger itself is divine. Therefore, the beginning of this meditation is not an act, but a cessation. It is the stilling of the seeker. It is the quieting of that frantic, personal sense of I, that is always doing, striving, and becoming. We are not here to improve the seeker, to make it more holy or more successful. We are here to see through its insubstantiality, to witness its dissolution in the light of a greater awareness. We must be willing to relinquish the very identity we have spent a lifetime building and defending. This is the great surrender. It is not a surrender to God. It is the surrender of the illusion that you could ever be anything other than God expressing as your individual being. The I that you believe yourself to be must diminish, must recede, must yield, so that the I am that has always been can be revealed as the only presence and the only power. This is the foundation upon which all true spiritual experience is built. Without this realization, all meditation is merely the ego comforting itself, and all prayer is the human sense of I, talking to itself about God. And so we come to the very heart of the matter, the great pivotal point upon which all of this turns, the I am. Understand now with the utmost clarity that we are not speaking of a mantra. This is not a phrase to be repeated by the human mind in the hope of achieving a spiritual state. The human mind, the very instrument of the seeker, cannot comprehend or command the I am. To use it as a mantra is to engage in the most subtle and tragic form of idolatry, where the mind attempts to grasp and employ the infinite as if it were a tool for its own betterment. The I am is not a statement you make. It is the conscious recognition of the being that you vary. It is the foundation of all that is. Before you are a man or a woman, before you are a parent, a professional or a seeker, before any quality or condition can be applied, there is the pure, unadulterated fact of being. I am. This is not your personal possession. It is the very presence of God, individualized as your awareness. When Moses stood before the burning bush and asked for the name of the power speaking to him, the answer was not a description of attributes or a list of powers. The answer was the ultimate, irreducible truth: I am tat I am. This is the name, the nature, the very substance of the divine. And this is the very same consciousness that is reading these words, that is aware of the room around you, that is the very light of your perception. The I in you and the I am of God are one and the same. The moment this shifts from a theological concept to a living realization, the universe transforms. You are no longer a person trying to reach God, you are the very activity of God, appearing as this specific individual form and experience. The I am meditation, then, is the practice of abiding in this recognition. It is a silent, inner retreat from the world of effects, from the thoughts, emotions, and circumstances that parade before the personal I. It is a conscious turning within, not to find something, but to rest in the truth of what is already and eternally present. You do not say, I am, with your lips. You become silent and you listen for it. You feel for it. You become aware of the awareness itself. You notice the space in which all your thoughts arise, the canvas upon which all your experiences are painted. That canvas, that space, is the I am. It is the unborn, undying, ever-present reality of your being. In this stillness, the personal sense of I, with all its burdens and histories, begins to recede, much like a wave settling back into the ocean. It was never a separate entity. It was only a temporary formation of the ocean itself, and as it subsides, what remains is the vast, profound, and peaceful ocean of pure being. This is the recognition. It is the dawning of the truth that you are not in the universe is in you, the I am. Every problem, every fear, every sense of lack exists only as a temporary formation within this infinite consciousness. When you abide here, you are not applying a truth to a problem. You are realizing that the problem never truly existed in the reality of I am. It was a phantom, a dream in the mind of the separate self. And in the light of this recognition, the dream dissolves. This conscious abiding in the I am is not a passive state, it is the most dynamic activity conceivable, for it initiates a profound and inevitable process within consciousness, the dissolution of the personal I. This is the critical transformation, the alchemical fire where the dross of humanhood is burned away to reveal the pure gold of our divine identity. Do not mistake this for a violent or fearful event. It is not an annihilation of your unique individuality, but the shedding of the limiting, constricting sense of a self that is separate, vulnerable, and incomplete. The personal is like a hard, frozen crust of ice on the surface of a vast, warm and fluid ocean. The warmth of the I am recognition does not destroy the water. It merely melts the rigid, confining ice, allowing the water to flow freely once again, expressing its true nature. This personal sense of self is sustained only by our belief in it, by our constant mental activity of claiming things as our own, my thoughts, my feelings, my problems, my achievements. It is a collection, an accumulation, a story we have been telling ourselves for a lifetime. When we turn within and rest in the I am, we withdraw the fuel of our attention from this story. We stop feeding the phantom. In the light of this pure awareness, the thoughts and emotions that once seemed so solid and so personally mine are seen for what they are, impersonal phenomena arising and passing within the vast space of consciousness. They are clouds drifting through the sky of your being. They are not the sky itself. You begin to see that the anxiety you claimed was not a permanent part of you, but a temporary weather pattern in mind. The old grievance you nursed was not a core truth, but a shadow that could only exist in the absence of light. As you practice this abiding, you stop claiming these shadows as your own. You stop saying, I am anxious, and you begin to witness. There is anxiety appearing. This subtle shift in pronoun is seismic. It marks the transfer of your identity from the content of consciousness to the context of consciousness itself. This dissolution is what the mystics have called the path of purification. It is not you purifying yourself, it is the I am, the infinite fire of truth, burning away all that is not true, all that is not eternal. The fears, the desires, the judgments, and the attachments, these are not fought against or suppressed. They are simply not claimed. They are left to wither in the sunlight of a higher understanding. They are seen as echoes of the old, separate self, and having no source in the I am, they lose their power and their substance. They may arise for a time out of habit, but they find no home, no believer, no one to give them reality. They become like a knock at a door when you know the house is empty. This is the great inner silence, where the chatter of the personal self grows quiet, not through force of will, but through a profound lack of interest. You are no longer fascinated by your own drama. You have found something infinitely more compelling, more peaceful, and more real, the sublime, silent, and potent presence of the I am that you are. This brings us to the very nature of the work itself, a truth that turns the entire world of spiritual seeking on its head. What we are engaged in here is not an accumulation, but an unlearning. It is not a process of adding new truths to your mind, but of stripping away the ages of misconception that have obscured the truth that has always been your very core. The human mind is a vast repository of accumulated knowledges, scriptures it has read, teachings it has heard, and most significantly, a lifetime of personal experiences it has interpreted through the lens of a separate self. This entire collection forms a veil. It is the cloud that hides the sun, and no amount of adding to the cloud will ever reveal the sunlight. Our entire educational and societal framework is built upon this principle of accumulation. The belief that the solution to any problem is to acquire more information, more technique, more understanding. We approach spirituality in the same way, amassing books, lectures, and practices, building a formidable spiritual portfolio. Yet, paradoxically, this very accumulation strengthens the sense of the one who is accumulating, the personal I, and in doing so, thickens the veil. The truth of your being is not a piece of data to be learned. It is not a secret doctrine to be uncovered. It is the pre-existing, self-evident reality that was present before the first thought ever arose in your mind. Therefore, the path to its realization cannot be one of addition. It must be one of subtraction. This meditation is the conscious, deliberate process of this unlearning. It is the inner action of setting aside everything you think you know about God, about yourself, about your problems, about the world. It is to come to this moment naked of concept, barren of opinion, and silent of the mind's constant commentary. You are not trying to become spiritual. You are allowing the spiritual, which is all that is, to reveal itself by ceasing to impose upon it your personal definitions. In the silence of the I Am, you are not building a connection to God. You are dismantling the illusion that there ever was a separation. Every concept of God you hold is a limitation. Every spiritual achievement you claim is a barrier. In this sacred space, we let it all go. We release our grip on our most cherished spiritual ideas, our most profound insights, even our most heartfelt desires for peace and harmony. We leave the mind's marketplace and enter the wilderness of pure being, where there is no path, no map, and no guidebook other than the silent, inner pull of the I Am itself. This is the great unbecoming. It is a fearless allowing, a trust that what remains when all that is false has been set aside will be more magnificent, more complete, and more fulfilling than any truth the mind could ever grasp. It is the ultimate act of faith, not faith in something, but faith as the very substance of your being, operating to clear the channel of all obstruction so that the infinite may flow forth unimpeded. This process of unlearning, this silent abiding, reveals the most transformative principle of all. God is the only actor. For the human sense of self, this is the ultimate surrender, the final relinquishment of control. The personal I is founded on the bedrock belief that it is the doer. It believes it is the one who thinks, who wills, who acts, who strives, and who achieves. It lives in a constant state of tension, burdened by the weight of responsibility and the fear of failure. It believes it must orchestrate its own life, solve its own problems, and forge its own destiny. This is the great weight that Christ referred to when he said, "Come unto me, all ye that labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest." The I that gives rest is the realized I Am, the understanding that your life is not your own. It is the life of God being lived as you. In the light of the I Am, you begin to perceive that every thought that has ever arisen in your mind, every impulse of life that has ever coursed through your body, every circumstance that has ever appeared on your path is the activity of the one divine consciousness. You are not a creator, but a witness. You are not a potter shaping the clay of your life. You are the kiln in which the infinite potter fires the clay. Your role is not to act, but to be the transparency through which God acts. Your hands perform their tasks, your mind receives its inspirations, but the source of the power, the intelligence, and the energy is the I Am. The wave does not decide to crash upon the shore. It is the ocean that expresses itself as the wave's motion. When you are abiding in this truth, the frantic striving of the human will give way to a profound and peaceful allowing. You begin to live as a beholder, watching with awe and gratitude as the intelligence of the infinite organizes your life, heals your body, and harmonizes your relationships. This is not a passive resignation, it is the most active state of receptivity. It is aligning your personal sense of will with the divine will until they become one and the same. You will find yourself moving through your day, making decisions, engaging in work, but there will be a new quality to it all, a sense of effortlessness, a lack of personal strain. It will feel as if you are being lived. Problems no longer appear as obstacles for you to overcome with your limited human resources, but as specific formations within consciousness, presented for the activity of the I Am to resolve, reinterpret, and dissolve. You do not fight the problem, you turn from it to the presence, and you let the presence be the actor. Your prayer ceases to be a petition from a human to a distant God and becomes a silent acknowledgement. Thou art the doer, thou art the action, thou art the result. In this surrender, you do not lose your individuality, you find it for the first time, fulfilled and empowered as the very instrument of the infinite. And so, we arrive at the natural and inevitable fruit of this entire journey, the fulfillment that appears as effect. When you have realized, even for a moment, that God is the only actor, the sole substance, and the only presence, the entire world of effect is utterly transformed. It is lifted up into the cause from which it sprang. You no longer live your life chasing effects, seeking health, demanding supply, or begging for peace from a capricious universe. You come to rest at the source of all these things. You abide in the I Am, and from that rootedness in the cause, the effects appear, not as something you have manufactured, but as the natural, effortless emanation of your realized being. This is the great secret that reverses the human experience. The world believes that if it can just manipulate the effects, get the right job, the right relationship, the right medicine, then it will find the cause, which it calls happiness or peace. But this is the ultimate delusion, the hamster wheel of humanhood. It is trying to arrange the shadows on the cave wall while ignoring the fire that casts them. The truth is the exact inverse. When you abide in the cause, which is the I Am, the effects arrange themselves in harmony, in beauty, and in grace. This is the meaning of, "Seek ye first the kingdom of God, and his righteousness, and all these things shall be added unto you." The kingdom is the conscious awareness of the I Am as your only reality. All these things are the effects, the health, the harmony, the supply, that are added not as a reward, but as a natural and unavoidable consequence. A sunbeam does not strive to be bright, it is bright because it abides in the sun. A branch does not struggle to bear fruit, it bears fruit because it abides in the vine. So it is with you. When your identity is firmly established not in the branch of your personal self, but in the vine of the I Am, fruit appears. It is the fruit of the Spirit, love, joy, peace, patience, and it manifests outwardly as the harmony of your human experience. The specific forms this harmony takes are infinite and uniquely tailored to your individual expression. It may appear as a healing, not because you fought a disease, but because the perfect wholeness of the I Am became so palpable that the appearance of disease could no longer be sustained. It may appear as a new sense of abundance, not because you struggled and schemed, but because the infinite nature of your source became your lived reality, dissolving the belief in lack. The problems of your life are not solved, they are revealed as illusions that never truly existed in the reality of the I Am. They are like a dream of poverty that vanishes upon waking into a room filled with light. The waking is the realization. The light is the I Am, and in that light, you do not find the solutions you were seeking. You find that the problems themselves were only ever shadows, and they dissolve in the dawn of your true nature. This is the fulfillment. It is not the personal self getting what it wanted. It is the personal self dissolving into the divine self, and in that merging, discovering that every need is already met, every desire is already fulfilled, and every prayer is already answered in the sublime silent and all-sufficient peace of I Am.